Curriculum is not a dirty word. Admitting that you use curriculum in your homeschool should not be something that you need to be ashamed of. It is very common in online homeschooling forums to see folks mention that they use this curriculum and that curriculum, but then they often need to add in the caveat that they're certain to unschool this subject or unschool that topic, as if the thought of even inflicting curriculum on one's child is a bad thing. There is no one that we need to prove ourselves to outside of our governing body, and certainly no one inside a random Facebook group. If you're finding that you're feeling ashamed or that you need to justify yourself with your choices of curriculum, then possibly it's time that you remove yourself from that group, page, or email list. Curriculum is simply a tool, not a philosophy. And whilst I love many philosophies shared on certain blogs, websites, and community forums, I no longer participate in groups or read blog posts or email newsletters that have me feeling ashamed for the choices that I have so thoughtfully and respectfully made for my children. I am not controlled by the curriculum. I use it in a way that works for us. I use it as a guide, and just one of the many ways to expand our knowledge. It can be pulled apart and pared down. It is not something that needs to be completed from cover to cover. And I do not have to do everything that the curriculum tells me to. I can use bits and pieces of various curriculum aligned programs to fill in any gaps or to make things easier for us in our homeschool by not having to go out and search for that information all by ourselves. I can even use it to boost my own knowledge on a topic before we begin to cover it in our school day. For us, homeschooling, learning or enriching our education never stops. No matter what we are doing, we are learning. Learning cannot be separated from life. It's an impossible feat to do so. To live is to learn. And just because we choose formal programs for certain areas does not mean that learning only takes place during those times. There is no one right way to undertake home education. No matter how convincing, convicted, or forceful someone may be about their way. There is room for everyone, and we all get to choose what works best for us in our home. A family that highly values academic rigour are of course going to be passionate about that and will share in all the ways they believe that it is the right one to move forward with educating your child at home. Just as a family that aligns with the unschooling philosophy will always champion that as the right way to move forward. Neither of them are wrong because they've both found a path that works best for them and their families. However, there is no possible way that we can do all of those right things. We are simply setting ourselves up for failure if we even begin to try. We simply need to find what's right for us and focus on those right things. So just because you don't use a structured curriculum doesn't mean that it's not right for others. Curriculum is not a dirty word. We all need to be somewhat more aware of our own internal bias when proffering up advice, rather than simply throwing away our thoughts on all manner of topics around homeschooling, especially when conversing with new homeschoolers who are often in a vulnerable and highly anxious state. They need our support, guidance, and wisdom, and to help them find their own way and their own right path on this journey. Taking advice from those that do not align with our own educational philosophies can be problematic in many ways. For example, if we choose a more relaxed approach to our home education journey, and then we are told a story of a child reading many years above their grade level, or possibly we hear a story of a 10-year-old child working at high school level maths, and their parent attributes a lot of that to the amazing program that this child is using, we can begin to question ourselves and our choices, and can often feel quite threatened in those situations. Or what about if the coin is flipped the other way and you feel quite strongly about academic rigour, yet the company you keep in social circles, whether online or in real life, pride themselves on the freedom their children have in an environment where they are in complete control as to how their day pans out, no matter how that may look. Once again, you may find yourself in a situation where you're feeling quite threatened by this, and you may begin to wonder where you're going wrong. Of course, these situations could be a wonderful opportunity for you to take some time to truly reflect on your choices and ensure that you are headed down the right path in your homeschooling journey. Yet they also could be that you have simply discussed with someone that in no way aligns with your own philosophies around education. This in turn unsettles us and takes our focus away from where it needs to be. Be aware of this and be aware of where you're getting your information from. Safeguard your convictions. I have a love-hate relationship with social media, and in particular, homeschool Facebook groups, because the more vocal members of those groups are always going to be passionate about their own educational philosophies. And if we aren't self-assured in our choices, then we do need to be very careful when we're entering into those scenarios and group chats. It's really, really important to continually come back to your why. Not anyone else's, but your why. We can, of course, all learn things from homeschoolers that do things differently to the way we may. And wouldn't it be lovely to see a community that openly embraces diversity in education, rather than to be so quick to defend our way of doing things? I know for me personally, the relaxed nature of unschooling and the periods of time that we have unschooled in our educational journey has shown me that it's actually okay to relax on a lot of things, that I can let go of some things, or that we really only need to do focus schooling for a few hours every week. If we allow ourselves to, we really can learn a lot from each other and all of the various styles of education. If we find ourselves following folks on social media that we ourselves do not necessarily align with educationally, and if in turn we find ourselves feeling less than, or if we find ourselves jumping into defense mode where we need to prove and champion our way and tell everyone that it is the right way, then maybe it's time to consider leaving that group or unfollowing that particular person. There is a space for all manner of educational philosophies. Genuinely take some time to seek out the right voices for you to listen to, the right groups for you to be a part of, groups and places that make you feel empowered, not ashamed. It's as simple as that. If you always feel like you need to be justifying what you're doing, possibly it's not the best place for you. When we keep coming back to our why and our homeschool mission, we are better able to understand that someone else's right way does not need to upset us or rock our boat. It does not mean that our choices are wrong, and it does not need to make us feel unsure about the path that we are on. Their right is right for them, just as your right is right for you. And curriculum is not a dirty word. Thank you for joining me today. Bye for now.